Content.
And from the top of West Mountain of Scranton, Pennsylvania, good morning, everybody. This is 94.3 FM The Talker. Libertarian Lou, Tea Party Mike, Sanity check. If you want to start your weekend off right, you want to blow off that steam, the number is 888-577-4487. 888-577-4487. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, Lou. I just want to start off with speaking about Melanie, Madeira, and Betsy Summers, and just really congratulating them for taking the effort they did, Lou, going way beyond the comfort zone to try and make a difference in our nation. And I think that's one of the most admirable things I've seen, Lou, and really there should be more of us doing more of those things.
Absolutely, Michael, and good point there. And when you talk about getting out of the comfort zone and people getting out there and running for office, it's not easy. We've done it. We know how much time it takes. Actually, we've all done it. Almost everybody on our calls have done it. So we all know what it's all about, and certainly. Congratulate all the individuals, winners, losers. At least you participated and you're making a difference, making that voice be heard, and through that participation, you're able to really move the agenda. So what I want to do here this morning, Michael, is we're going to bring X on right away in the first portion of the show, and I want to get everybody's opinion, Frank's, yours. X's and myself, what they thought about the elections. We already got our first call, and I'm going to do that right off the bat. We'll start this one right off the bang here. Good morning, Gary.
Lou, Mike, boys, how are you today?
You're going to blow us right out of the water before we even start here.
After this big national changing election, I called my state senator, Lisa Baker's office, and asked the office. I called Washington, talked to a woman named Liz, a nice woman, and asked her the question about SB 76, the property tax reform bill. And I was informed that Harrisburg is adjourned for the rest of the year. They won't be voting on any bills. And I asked if there was a chance that they could be called back in by the leadership to vote on the bill, being that this is what Republicans had promised the people for years now. And the Senate leadership, Republican leadership, won't let the bill out so it can actually be voted on. And I told her that I heard that when the new session begins that they are going to let the bill out so it could be voted on, and she said yes, she had heard the same thing. And I asked why they would bring the bill out when they had Harrisburg for 4 years and didn't vote on it. Why would they bring it out for a Democratic governor that won't sign the bill? And is it just politics and a campaign issue? Is it something that they really want to fix or something that they want to run on every couple of years?
There's a campaign issue for a while there, Gary, right?
Oh, they've been promising this for years. I have 2 properties. I got murdered in 2 different school districts. And it's beginning to look like this is just a campaign issue. They really don't want to fix it. I also asked a question, is the Republican membership going to challenge the leadership, because the leadership is failing them and failing the state, and it seems that nobody really cares. And when you get people like Melanie and Betsy Summers that run in areas that are pretty hard hit by the housing market and the property taxes, and people vote in the same people, it's just we get what we deserve, I guess, in this state and in this country. And when you sit back and let corrupt politicians and liars tell you the same thing over and over again, I guess we get what we get. And with the gendarmerian districts, most of these politicians are pretty safe, so they really don't Don't care. Thanks for your time, guys.
Hey,
Have a
Gary,
good day.
whoa. Before you go, am I getting this right? Are you telling me that the legislature is basically on vacation now between now and the new session because they can't do anything?
Asleep at the wheel.
They sleep at the wheel, or what are we doing?
When I used the word vacation, she said, no, only adjourned.
Oh.
I said, so really what we're not electing people for 24 and 48 months. We're electing them for 22 and 46 months. The last 2 months they get on vacation every term.
All right, now that you got our blood pressure going here, we'll let you go back and do it.
No, they have work they can do. I said, well, if they can't vote on bills, what are they really doing?
Well, that's it. That's a
bill
question.
if you can't vote on one?
Gary, I wonder what they're doing when they are voting on bills, because half the time they're voting for things they didn't read or anything. But I have some answers for your questions, Gary. The reasons that they're going to bring this to the floor now for a vote is a couple of reasons. Number one, Texas is about to embarrass us. They're about to do what we've been promising up here in Pennsylvania forever. So this is moving through the Texas legislature and is about to be a reality down there. And Texas is about to lead the country in property tax reform. And Pennsylvania has been dangling this carrot in our faces forever, and we've never seen it move through the House or Senate. So that's one reason, is we don't want to be shown up by the great state of Texas. Secondly, we do want to embarrass Governor Wolf.
Texas.
How about that?
Do we know anybody in Texas?
I don't know. But at any rate, we also want to embarrass Governor Wolf. And Governor Wolf has taken a strong stance in saying he's not going to sign this when it hits his desk. So if the Republican-controlled House and Senate moves this bill along, gets it passed in both the House and Senate, and moves it over to his desk, now it puts the pressure on him. Is he really going to spit in the face of the homeowners? And if he does, how will that look for his reelection campaign? So he's got to move to self-preservation mode also. So the Republicans in office may want to just look to say, what are you going to do there, Wolf?
See, Frank, I don't agree with that. I agree they hope that Wolf shoots it down. And if they wanted this passed, we just had full control of Harrisburg Republicans for the last 4 years, and the Senate leadership would not bring the bill up for a vote. That's reality.
You're absolutely
right.
That is
reality. It could have been passed. It could have been in going on already. People could have been feeling the tax relief. It wasn't.
Hey, Gary.
Republicans are clowns, they're liars, and they do not deserve to be in office, and they deserve to be held accountable.
Don't hold back, Gary. Tell us how you really feel.
Hey, Gary, can you see the commercials now, 2 years from now? Property tax reform. Gary, thanks for calling in. Well, holy moly. What a way to start off the show. So, Michael, what do you think? What are we thinking? What are we thinking about the elections in general?
I think Gary is right on point, but unfortunately, it's not just happening in Pennsylvania; it happens all over the nation. When I hear college professors from Wilkes College saying that a two-party system is the way to go, that third, fourth party just really screw things up. I think he's completely out of touch. So today's the day to beat up on the ideals, but really, Gary's right. The Republican leadership had the House, the Senate, the governorship, and chose to do nothing. So really, to me, they're just a bunch of hot air and have done nothing for the folks, the hard-working folks of Pennsylvania. So I think Gary, at this point, is right on.
He absolutely is.
Jeez. I was coming on. I was going to congratulate the Republicans, and you guys, the two Republicans are going nuts over here today, off the bat.
As traditional Luzerne County Republicans, we don't wait for the Democrats to destroy us. We do it ourselves.
So, Michael, overall, what did you think? What did you think of the elections here?
Well, I thought. I mean, certainly, I was somewhat relieved to see that Washington. Here's how I feel. Obviously, the Republicans have controlled both the House and the Senate in Washington now, and I hope that the hot air that they spin after every election is not going to be just hot air. That they're really going to make a difference, get back to our conservative ideals that work in this nation, and stop the rhetoric. So we shall see. They all have their war paint on now, and they're all this and that. And we'll see what happens in January.
Absolutely. X, what do you think here? What's your words of wisdom first thing this morning?
Well, again, a lot of the races, whether it be Virginia, whether it be Vermont, Florida and so forth, the margin of error between the Democrat and the Republican compared to the Libertarians that were running in the race that were there, Rob Sarvis in Virginia got 53,000 votes. The margin of error between the Republicans and Democrats in Virginia is 12,000.
Right.
I mean, so what's happening is they are, third-party candidates, Libertarians in particular, are deciding factors in terms of, they're going to try to blame one side or the other depending on who loses in these races. But the thing that stands out again is what would their totals have been had these people been included in debates? What would happen had there been more coverage?
Well, certainly, as far as it comes down to debates and getting a message out there, darn well that those figures would spike in many ways. But one of the things when we look even at Virginia, we don't know where those votes would have went and if that was a deciding factor in the sense that whether it would have been Gillespie or Warner, that maybe that would have tipped the scales because, X, and I think we all know here too, is that a lot of times when you have competition, there's folks that are going to be coming out to these polls and voting and participating that would not have participated in any sense whatsoever because they feel as though that they don't have anybody representing them. So, and from the libertarian standpoint, X, I think from different polling, it seems as though that when there's a libertarian on the ballot, it actually, I know Republicans feel as though that it's only their votes that go to the libertarian, but it certainly doesn't. I don't think that's borne out anyway from facts.
No, you're absolutely right, Lou. It turns out that whoever the loser is, they need somebody to blame, and it can never be because their candidate was awful. The other interesting thing is a lot of these people who won, they won with less than 50% of the vote.
Right.
That might be even a bigger story. The fact that, the person that's going to run Virginia, the person that's going to be the governor of Vermont, they've all gotten the consensus of less than 50% of the population, and that's of the people that voted. So it could be less than 25% of the population voted for the candidate that's running the state.
It comes down to, in my opinion, it doesn't come down to anything other than straight party voting. I think that is the biggest issue that we're seeing. Until you eliminate that, I don't think we're ever going to see a third party candidate actually be successful.
Yeah, Frank, you have a really good point. I think that there was an interview with Jesse Ventura on Russia Today, and he was talking about the same thing. He says, how would votes be if when people went into the voting booth, they couldn't just blindly go over to a column and pull a number with somebody's name next to them.
Exactly. And I've been saying it, I was not awake as far as voting until I moved to the city of Wilkes-Barre and became blown away by the level of corruption that was going on there. And prior to that, I didn't pay much attention to it. I was one of those blind voters who walked in and either hit Republican or Democrat and walked out. So prior to my awakening, I'm often now looking at voters and saying, stop voting like that, stupid. But ultimately, I did the same thing.
At the end of the day, though, and I've come to the conclusion that you're not going to see much of a change unless you get bigger voter turnout. You have to inspire the voters that are not voting now, because there are very many people that are set in their ways. They're going to continue to do the same thing. So when you look at a 20 or 30% turnout, certainly in the state, I mean that needs.
And then you talk to the non-voters, and they will tell you that the reason they don't vote is there's no inspiring candidates to vote for. Well, who's going to put themselves out there and run against a corrupt political machine when they know they don't stand a snowball's chance in Florida?
All those things are right. We're going to take a break, but when we come back, we have the Commonwealth Foundation will be on the line. We got Nate Benefield, who's the vice president of the policy analysis of the Commonwealth Foundation. We're going to talk a little about who they are. And they just put out a piece. Why did Corbett miss the wave? How come Governor Corbett missed the Republican wave? We'll be back. We're going to take a quick break. And you listen to Sanity Check on 94.3 FM, The Talker.
With Tea Party Mike, Libertarian Lou, Saturday mornings, 94.3 FM, The Talker.
So wake me up when it's all over, when I'm wiser and
That's what the Commonwealth Foundation is going to do. Wake us up.
Is that what they're going to do?
myself enough. Didn't know I
And we're back. 94.3 FM, The Talker. The number here is 888-577-4487, 888-577-4487. U.S. Senator Pat Toomey says the Commonwealth Foundation is the leading organization in Pennsylvania that champions free markets and limited government. No public policy group in the state is more effective at advancing the common sense reforms that our state so desperately needs. And former Lieutenant Governor Bill Scranton said the Commonwealth Foundation has brought important balance to the public policy debate in Harrisburg. It has forced an honest discussion about the core principles and irrefutable facts that have been missing from the Capitol for some time. I'd like to welcome Nate Benefield, the Vice President of the Policy Analysis at the Commonwealth Foundation. Good morning, Nate. Thanks for joining us so early.
Yeah, good morning, Lou. How are you?
We're doing great. So you guys put out a piece and about why Corbett missed the wave, certainly the Republican wave. Maybe you want to tell our listeners a little bit more about yourself, the Commonwealth Foundation, and about the piece that Brule had written.
Sure. Yeah, the Commonwealth Foundation. We're called a free market think tank, and what that means is we work on state policy issues. And analyzing issues facing the state budgets, spending, education policy, and offer the free market perspective and give solutions for how freedom and liberty and less limited government can solve a lot of the problems facing our state, rather than the big government solutions so many are proposing, and offer that perspective for lawmakers and the public. And on that, one of the, our piece on why, Governor Corbett lost in a big Republican year elsewhere, both, the state, Republicans picked up seats in the state legislature, and certainly nationally you saw a wave of Republican votes. So why did Governor Corbett lose in this? One of the things the obvious conclusion, at least in our view, is that it wasn't because he supported some free market policies and said he supported liquor privatization or pension reform or opposed raising the income tax. Certainly wasn't that voters rejected him for that. It was more the persona that voters preferred, the persona of Tom Wolf over the persona of Tom Corbett, and that's why you saw that trend. It was things specific to his persona and not at all to a rejection of conservative policy ideas.
Right at the beginning, that's exactly what it said. It said voters rejected persona, not policy. Amidst union-funded demonization, part of the piece was in contract. Voters rewarded governors in Wisconsin and Michigan, and yet for their bold leadership in taking on the public sector unions and meaningful reforms. I had mentioned on not only our show, but the David Madeira show here, at the beginning, I was taken in by the Wolf commercial also. I mean, it was that, I think that one commercial stuck with folks for so long until, at least for myself, I started realizing, wait, this guy's not saying anything. He just has the one commercial. It was nothing else. It was like an empty suit out there. So I guess we'll all see as time moves on exactly what's going to happen with Wolf and some of the policies that Corbett tried to implement. Maybe to put the Pennsylvania on the right road back to recovery.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting the next few months because, as you said, Wolf kind of ran on himself and basically on the fact that Governor Corbett had been unpopular throughout his term, just kind of running on that and not giving a lot of details to his policy proposals. So it'll be interesting to see what he lays out in his first few months. But on the other side, Republicans in the state House and Senate have grew their majorities, and in fact have the largest majorities in more than almost 60 years in the state House and Senate. So I think voters, what they demonstrated with this election is they expect results, and they're going to be looking at the legislative leaders to see what agenda they're going to be pushing out, and expect to see things get done with their largest majorities in decades.
We actually have one of the newly elected Republican state reps in House with us here, and certainly on our next segment, we're going to have Aaron Kaufer on. But a little bit more X when you hear a free market think tank. I know that gets you excited. I mean, here you have the Commonwealth Foundation and talking about and some of the stuff here, Nate, that I see you guys, certainly try to educate folks on taxes, taxing and spending, jobs and the economy, education, energy, environment, unions and labor policies. X, and any questions for Nate there?
What does he thinks is the biggest barrier to getting his message out there, aside from money?
The biggest barrier is, I would say, apathy. We get stuff in, media stories, get the perspective out there, but most, a lot of voters and people are not that, that concerned with some of the issues, especially at the state level, to follow what's going on. And so, as you see, with the last election, voter turnout, very low, lower than even past gubernatorial election years. That there is needs to be a lot of voter wake up and encouraging more people to participate in the election process and the political process and get informed in issues. And so, as we're talking our free market issues, we're reaching a more narrow group of voters than we need to.
Nate, I could tell you that when I look at your mission and I would think and just trying to get a little better feel what the Commonwealth Foundation does. Obviously, it crafts free market policies, convinces Pennsylvanians of what those benefits are, and counters attacks on liberty. I would assume that you guys do a lot of work not in Harrisburg, trying to even educate our legislators on some of these policies. Correct?
Yeah, we have basically. The way we view it, we have three audiences, one being the general public, one being the media, and then one being lawmakers directly, and provide information for them and often summarize issues and give them the key points and facts about the policies they're debating.
Michael, do you remember, and Nate, I don't think you were there, but we had Restoring Freedoms. Commonwealth Foundation was one of the speakers there, and we certainly appreciated, you guys coming up and participating in our Restoring Freedoms, which me and Mike helped put together here. How long ago was that, Michael?
My goodness.
It seems like a lifetime ago.
4 years ago. A lifetime ago, exactly. A few less gray hairs ago.
I know, Michael, you feel the same way. I mean, we need more participation, and certainly we welcome the Commonwealth Foundation to certainly educate and help not only inform our listeners, but also, I think very importantly, very often the legislators themselves, because sometimes they're just not up on some of these policies.
Yeah, there is when you're talking 200 lawmakers, they have and really there are thousands of bills being introduced every year that be able to follow all of them, that we are often able to cut through and get some of the information about some of the key perspectives. And certainly they hear from a lot of lobbyists, and most of those are paid for by those who benefit from higher taxes or higher spending and bigger government. So to hear the free market perspective and the perspective of the taxpayer is something that certainly we offer, and they don't often get from too many sources.
Michael, what do you have? You were just ready to say something there to Nate.
Well, I was, and I just wanted to, as far as we sort of made a comparison with Wisconsin and Governor Walker there, and Governor Corbett, and why it's not working in Pennsylvania. And it's just an observation. I could be completely wrong, but it just seems like the legislation was really behind Governor Walker. That they were really there supporting him, and I didn't see that out of the Republican legislature. I just didn't see the support of those conservative ideas. That they were sort of wishy-washy. Is that a poor evaluation?
Well, I think it's partly accurate. Yeah, that when Governor Walker came in and they pushed through what became Act 10. There, he certainly had legislative support, and they were fighting that. And then, of course, you remember the Democrats left town up there just to stop any debate on it, which I think actually galvanized Republicans together, and they worked together to have that accomplishment. And certainly here, we did not see those accomplishments. Now it's some would say that Governor Corbett didn't lead, and that's why he didn't get the support of the legislature, and it was his lack of leadership. Or you could argue that the legislature simply just thwarted him at every turn and couldn't work together, and blame the legislature. It's kind of the chicken or the egg thing of which is to blame. But certainly, I think Governor Corbett lost on Tuesday because of the lack of accomplishments he had seen, and compared to Governor Walker in Wisconsin, simply not having that kind of achievement to run on, and really it was the benefits of that Governor Walker won because of seeing that after they took on government union leaders and won, they were able to cut taxes and see their economy rebound, and it was that record he run on that Tom Corbett couldn't run on. Right.
I think one of the things we're looking at also here in our state legislature here is they'll be voting on leadership, and certainly it seems as though Mr. Pileggi is going to have he's getting some taking on some fire right now. So I guess we'll see where that all goes.
Yeah, that'll be interesting next week. They have leadership elections, and as you mentioned, Dominic Pileggi, who's the Senate Majority Leader, is going to be challenged by a senator out from western part of the state, Jake Corman. And even saw today that Lisa Baker from, I know in that area, threw her name into the hat to run for the Appropriations Committee chair.
But that's all good. You almost knocked me off my chair with that one, but all good. And Nate, thank you so much for calling in today. You guys do fantastic work at the Commonwealth Foundation. Keep up the fight, and we appreciate you calling in today. And we'll talk to you again soon.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
You betcha. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we have Aaron Kaufer. You listen to 94.3 FM, The Talker. This is Sanity Check. We'll be back in a moment. I hope they hear us now. We're sitting in here talking, and we almost missed the whole deal here. You're listening to 94.3 FM, The Talker, Sanity Check, Libertarian Lou, Party Mike. We got X on the line. We got Frank here, and we have Aaron Kaufer in studio, the newly elected Republican. I don't even know from what district, Aaron, but for congratulations, and I know it's a lot of hard work. This is you've been at this for quite some time. So welcome to Sanity Check.
Thank you very much. It's the 120th district of Pennsylvania.
All I know is Kingston and that whole area over there. So I do know that for a bit before your time. Obviously, we tried to help Tim Mullen. So I remember walking the streets of Wyoming and Swarsville, and that's the whole district over there. Correct.
Correct. Right. It goes from Kingston, Edwardsville up the line to West Pittston. We have part of the Back Mountain, Shavertown, Trucksville, and Harding, and all the towns in between. It's a 14-town district, a very nice on the west side of the Susquehanna, across from Wilkes-Barre and Pittston.
A couple things, all kinds of things. First of all, I know we'll be back, and one of the things we're not going to get into is all the policies right now. You're just getting your feet up, you're wet, you're just getting down there, so we're not going to get into the weeds right off the bat, and we'll certainly have you back over a period of time. But there are two things, or a couple things that jumped out at me. One was that yesterday, speaking with you, you had asked to be on two committees, the Finance Committee and the Government Committee, right?
That's right.
State Government Committee, and we'll get into the State Government Committee in a moment, but when we're talking about the Finance Committee, you have a degree in what?
So I have 2 degrees, one in government law, one in international affairs. But when I'm specialized, my specialties in each degree is in political theory and U.S. Chinese economics.
And you speak Mandarin, I understand.
I do speak Mandarin. So
what do you think about that, X?
Good stuff.
So you're hoping now that have they picked the committees you're on yet, or is this how's the process work?
No, we were down on the day after the election on Wednesday for a meet and greet with our current leadership and the newly elected officials, and we started getting our feet wet with getting involved with our regional caucuses and hearing the people speak who are running for leadership positions to get ready to elect our leadership positions for next week.
Are you able to talk about that, or you rather keep that on the low key for the time being?
I mean, currently I'm being contacted because because of our orientation starting, we didn't get to hear from everybody speaking.
Okay.
And so I'm getting phone calls from all the different people running for leadership positions, talking about what they want to do, what policies are important to them, and where we're going forward. So, I mean, there's a lot of people running for a lot of different positions. There's about 20 people running for I think there's about 8 positions in leadership that they are running for. Some are unopposed, but there are several people that are contesting different places in the leadership. And so I'm just waiting to hear from everybody and what their ideas are with each position.
Certainly, it sounds as though, Michael, and you're familiar with this also, is that looks like there's going to be, or at least looks like there could be a shakeup in the Senate side of leadership. Do you see the same thing shaping up on the legislative side or on the representative side?
Well, right now there is a battle for majority leader, but the Speaker of the House position is running unopposed. The former majority leader, Mike Turzai, is running unopposed for the Speaker position. Nobody has challenged him for that position yet. So with the majority position, they're the ones that set the agenda. So we're waiting to see who's going to be the majority leader. And there are 2 people currently announced with it, and that's Dave Reed and Stan Saylor. I have had preliminary conversations with both of them, and we're going to see how the conversations progress and get more into the details of what agendas they're pushing and legislative items that they're looking to pass.
What's the breakout in the 120th? There's a larger Democrat voter base, right?
Yes, it's roughly 57% Democratic.
Okay.
It's just around 40% Republican, just under that, actually.
Okay.
And so, the fact that we won with over 56% of the vote was definitely a big win, because we had a lot of people, considering we had a very unpopular governor on top, who people crossed over and not only voted for Tom Wolf, but then came back and voted for Aaron Kaufer at the on the legislative race.
Oh wow! And that's one of the other things I did want to talk to you about. What do you what do you give that to, or why do you think that those things happened? I mean, certainly I know you walked the district, you did certain things. We had talked, and you had said something about your mom and dad making the phone calls.
Yeah, I mean, I knocked on 35,000 doors, and when you go and actually have the opportunity to meet the people
35,000 doors.
35,000 doors between the 2 campaigns. So I got to meet have the opportunity at least to meet everyone in the district.
Wow.
And when you meet somebody, it's really impactful. People want to know who their legislators are. And beyond that, we were phone banking since September. I had so many people walk up to me in the polls saying,
really?
Listen, your mother, your father, your friend called me asking for your vote, and they talked with me. People like to be respected, and that's what we did. We respected the voters. We reached out to them, and if we weren't able to contact them, if I missed them at the door, they got a follow-up call saying, listen, I'm sorry I missed you, but, we're here to talk with you.
So it paid dividends.
Absolutely. And that's what made the difference in this campaign. As I was standing at the polls, so many people, I was in Swoyersville for about an hour on Election Day while one of my poll workers was driving around picking up his family to vote. And so many people walked up to me saying, I met you at your door, or your parents called me, or somebody called me. And when they went negative on me, a lot of people said to me, you know what, when I heard those negative ads against you, what we did was we called our friends and we let them know that they had to come out and vote for you because we were disgusted by the ads that we saw.
So in this case, the negative ads actually, from Frank, I mean, you're right in the middle of all these things, and you certainly look at what happens and how these elections are won and lost. And typically, you would think that you run negative ads, but
negative ads normally deter voters from voting.
Right,
that's what they do. If I'm a Kaufer supporter and I've already decided I'm going to vote for Aaron Kaufer, and I see a negative ad where Aaron is the devil, I shouldn't vote for him. Well, then I'm just going to sit home on Election Day because my candidate is the devil. I shouldn't vote for him.
And yet,
so
and because of the reach out, is what you're saying is that it actually it
right.
Actually
People
worked.
were calling and saying, Lou, listen, Aaron's not the devil. I don't care what you saw on BRE. He is not the devil. You got to vote for him.
And that's exactly what we heard at the polls on Election Day, was people saying, listen, we know you, we met you, you spent 20 minutes at my house talking with me about the issues I cared about. We didn't blow voters off. I went to their door and I asked them, what issues are important to you? What are your concerns? And I didn't leave until I answered all their questions, addressed all their concerns, and then I was able to leave.
Now, looking at the issues that were concerning, I mean, certainly looking at the polls that the national polls. And Michael, feel free to jump in on this one. Is that it seemed as though the economy is number one, and then the healthcare was number two. Is that? Are you getting the same sense, or not so much in your district?
Economics is definitely a big issue with property tax reform and elimination being one of the biggest ones. I mean, hearing about the property tax elimination bill, House Bill, Senate Bill 76, that was what people cared about. People are losing their homes in my district. And it's just an issue that can't go on any longer. We are pushing for that legislation. I can't tell you how many times I heard that at the doors. And obviously, coming from a depressed economic area, jobs is the big issue. We have to rebuild our job base, and it starts with blue-collar work to create that job base so that we can move to white-collar jobs and keep our young graduates from college and high school in our area because they're not staying. They're graduating and leaving, and we just see a growing trend of that, and we really don't have good policy to address it right now.
I don't know if you heard one of our callers first thing this morning. Gary had called in and said this is just going to be another campaign issue 2 years down the road, or maybe 4 years down the road, because now with Governor Wolf in there, he probably will not sign that issue. You being well, you haven't been assigned to any committees yet. You've only requested to be on those committees, and then I guess you would go from there. I happen to know you for a while. I mean, even from the last campaign, I know you're going to be adamant about this. Certainly, if you're on the finance committee. You just knew it. So it's hard. I don't want to get you've been elected for less than a week, so people are not going to jump on your bandwagon right off the bat and listen to Aaron Kaufer. But I know you're going to be outspoken about that issue for sure.
Absolutely, and I already met with the prime sponsor of the House Bill 76, Jim Cox. I had the opportunity to speak with him and talk with him about this legislation, saying, I want to be on the front lines with you fighting for this legislation. This is my number one concern to the voters of my district, my number one concern to represent them. We need to get something done. And so,
what do you think? Well, I mean, what do you think, Frank? I mean, Michael, what do you guys are thinking about this SB 76? Certainly, you heard the concerns of Gary calling before. Right. Now. Why wasn't pushed through? That's not part of your deal. You weren't part of last legislative.
Obviously, I'm for it.
Right.
I have been.
We've all been for it.
Yeah,
right.
I've been doing everything I possibly can to move House Bill or Senate Bill 76 forward, and been speaking on behalf of realreform76.com, which is the Pennsylvania PAR, Pennsylvania Real Estate Association's website, where they have dumped a boatload of money into supporting this bill and movement. And the reason being is attaining true home ownership, making home ownership possible for those who currently can't afford it. And that's something that right now in Pennsylvania we fear. We fear losing our homes because, as Aaron pointed out, people in his district are struggling just to pay their property taxes. And it is an unfair tax, in my opinion, that it only taxes a certain class of people, those that own homes. So anyone who doesn't own homes, who lives off the grid or anywhere else for that matter, they don't have to pay taxes in Pennsylvania.
Now, I'm not familiar exactly with the procedure, and maybe Aaron, maybe you do know, or maybe Frank knows, or Mike. Certainly with Pennsylvania, but if it passes, if this bill passes, then it goes to Wolf to sign, and he vetoes that. How many? I mean, because
he might as well put his neck in the guillotine right
no,
then.
Besides all that, who cares? I mean, 4 years down the road, he might come up with another commercial and make him look great. But at the end of the day. I mean, what is there? What is the procedure to override? Because you guys even picked up more Senate seats. I mean, Republicans. I mean, is there a procedure? Do you know the procedure? Because I'm not aware of it. That's all.
Yeah, we're looking at 2/3 to override the
2/3.
Yeah, right, to override the veto. And right now, we do not have 2/3 to override a veto. I mean, I asked.
Now, is that just the Senate or is that both?
That's both houses.
Both houses.
And it looks like when I talked with Jim Cox, I said, do we have the votes put together between the Republicans and the Democrats supporting this legislation, get this done? He said, I have to take a count. So I've yet to hear what the count is. If we
that's
are to
even
that
possible, yeah.
If we have that magic number of 102, that's the number we have to get to. 102 to get it to pass the House. Not only that, we have to get it out of the Finance Committee, which I'm hoping to be on, and you can guarantee a positive vote from me on that.
The other one is Government Committee.
Yes.
And would you want to say why you want to be on the government committee?
Well, as you guys know in the studio here, I'm a big government reform guy. And I just think our election system is not fair, whether it's the redistricting, whether it's...
What a softball.
I know, right?
I appreciate this because, this is the stuff that I mentioned before. I have a degree in political theory. Our system is broken, and you have to change the system to change the results we're getting out of it. When you look for somebody running for governor needs to get 3,000 signatures if you're a Democrat or Republican,
right.
But somebody who's running as a third party needs to get 61,000 signatures. 3,000 compared to 61,000. How is
fair.
that fair?
No, it's not right, and that's the whole point. And X and Michael, if you guys want to jump in here, we're kind of hogging the microphones here, but if you want to jump in on that one, feel free. If you have any questions for Aaron.
Well, Aaron, it's refreshing, Aaron. Michael Lazy, and congratulations. You've worked hard and appreciate all the effort. But, I was excited to know that you speak Mandarin because I believe Harrisburg needs another language because they're obviously not understanding English. So, try that, see if it works for you.
Thank you, Mike. Nice to hear from you. It's been a long time since I've seen you last. Thank you.
It is. And one of the things you bring up property taxes, and I have to tell you, the reason there were many reasons why I left Pennsylvania for Texas, but that was a big reason. That I looked at and said, what? When I turn 70 years old, if I'm still alive, I'm not going to be able to afford the home I'm living in. So these are things that a lot of our Pennsylvania residents are looking at. I'm not going to be able to stay in the home that I've worked so hard for because they're taxing the hell out of me. And I think this is a real good reason or a good fight to be in there.
Absolutely. And with what you're talking about, too, and I mean, so many people losing their homes, another issue is the economic side of this. I mean, just in yesterday's newspaper, there was an announcement in 40 Fort that there was a warehouse building that's going to expand from 80,000 feet to 190,000 feet. I mean, we have some of the major e-commerce warehousing here in this area because of our locations between the markets on the East Coast,
right.
Between New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Boston, Washington, D.C., Baltimore. We are a major hub right here. And so if we can eliminate these property taxes, that's our competitive advantage here in northeastern Pennsylvania. With our infrastructure, if we can improve it, we have the ability to connect northeastern Pennsylvania to the rest of the East Coast major hubs and be able to build that job base that we talk about. Warehousing jobs are good paying jobs. They're not minimum wage jobs. You're starting at $15 an hour, $18 an hour. I have a friend of mine who works at the UPS warehouse that makes $28 an hour.
Right.
Those are not minimum wage jobs. Those are family supporting jobs. We need to encourage prosperity, and that's what's going to help grow our economy here in northeastern Pennsylvania. We
need to take a quick break. When we'll be back, we'll have a little bit more of Aaron Kaufer, get some X's questions in. You listen to Sanity Check 94.3 FM The Talker.
Saturday mornings, 94.3 FM The Talker.
As we roll down this unfamiliar road, and although this wave is stringing us along, just know you're not alone, 'cause I'm gonna make this place your home.
Another unfamiliar road we're heading down here, that's for sure. 94.3 FM The Talk, a Sanity Check, Libertarian Lou and Tea Party Mike. We got X, we got Frank, and we got Aaron Kaufer in studio. X, let's go to you real quick because I have a couple questions for Aaron also here where we're going to touch on, but I know you wanted to get in there, so before you get shut out again, what did you have for Aaron?
I just, like anything else, we're going to hold your feet to the fire. We want you to do what you say and say what you're going to do, but everything that you're talking about so far is a breath of fresh air because very few people we've talked about have talked about transparency and openness to the extent that we're hearing from you. So we appreciate that.
Well, thank you, because, one of the things that we did with our campaign by knocking on the doors and getting out there and talking to people, I said, we don't owe a political power broker something. We did this the hard work. We did it through getting out there, talking with the people, being accessible. It's not your typical campaign. This was a true grassroots style campaign that brought people up, lifted them up, and really it was a different style of campaign than I think our area has seen in a long time.
One of the things that we did talk about, Aaron, and certainly are you beholden to anybody, a local shock jock here who claims to be in search of the truth? What's his name again? It's the same guy who could never remember who the name of the Independent Gazette is.
Doesn't his name resemble that of our outgoing governor?
Perhaps it is, but paraphrasing, and I don't know the exact words because I don't have the transcript, but just listening to the show, and that was one of the reasons I reached out for you, Aaron, because I know you, and we've sat and talked, and we've talked about some issues long before even you're running for office, and even while you're running for office, just talked about who you are and why you're doing what you're doing, and this whole idea of we're in the media, we try to put out the truth as best we can. Right. But when I heard that he was claiming that you were bought and sold for by the gas companies and you didn't really walk the streets, and once again, I don't have those transcripts there. And yet we've talked with you. I mean, address that issue, please.
Yeah, I mean, go and tell the voters of my district that I didn't walk the streets and talk with them because I don't think a single one of them would believe that. But, I mean, we got out there. I mean, the whole moral of the story is, I don't solicit special interest money. I think part of the problem in politics is the money flying around all over the place saying that, okay, listen, here, we want you to vote this way. We're going to give you this check if you promise. If you fill out this survey, tell us you're going to do this and do it when you get there. And so I'm not a survey guy. I hate those surveys. If I could show you the stacks of surveys that I got wanting me to commit for campaign funds to do it, it's ridiculous. And so, it was being claimed that I got all this money from special interests, especially from the natural gas companies. Right. Well, 2 years ago, I got $2,000 from the natural gas companies. This year, I didn't get a dime. I didn't get a single penny from the natural gas industries to my campaign account. And you can go and you can look. That's just the facts. I haven't gotten any money from them. And so if you want to go and look at it, you can. But, whatever these people are saying is just not the truth.
And that's important to bring out. And certainly, speaking even beforehand, you got money from the Republican Party, but you're part of the Republican Party, and they're getting money from whether it's a gas company or interested people that want to contribute to campaigns. I mean, you need money to run campaigns. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's part of the process that we have. I'm sure, Wolf or the Democratic Party got money from the trial lawyers and from the unions and so forth and so on. But what you're saying is that you had no direct money from them and certainly from the Republican Party, and to twist this, Frank, and I think that's what this is what ticks me off. It's the innuendo, and for somebody that says they want a conversation in search of the truth, we are in search of the truth, and like X says, your feet will be held to the fire just like anybody else's. But at the end of the day, I mean, to throw that innuendo out there to try to sully your reputation before you haven't even gotten down to Harris, you hadn't even made the first trip down there, and all of a sudden the shots are coming over because he was a big fan of Cipriani's. I just find that to be very, intellectually dishonest on his part.
Well, the shots aren't going to, Aaron, as you know, or at least you should know, the shots aren't going to stop coming. In fact, they're going to get worse once you get to Harrisburg. You know that. So my advice to you is, just keep true to your voters and your conscience, and you're going to do fine, because I know you. I know you're a stand-up guy, and I know you're going to do everything that you've promised to do when you get to Harrisburg. So I wish you all the best, and thank God.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Absolutely. And that's what it is. We got to get people motivated. We got to get them off their tails. It's time to start working on behalf of the people. Enough of the special interests. It's time that the people have true representation. And that's what people are fed up with. The two-party system doesn't represent the people. The people are left out of the two-party system.
Oh boy, that's all good stuff, isn't it, Aaron? Listen, thanks for coming in today, and certainly as we move forward, we'll have other questions, and we know that the door is open to your to what you're doing in Harrisburg, and I feel as though that we do have a voice there, and we'll be talking. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
So that's it, guys. We have a couple minutes left in the show here. I had some notes that I wanted to get to, and I did want to
Lou,
go ahead.
Let me just hit on one thing real quick. Look, I've been talking about this for a while now. The big scam is on the American public. Obama yesterday during the Friday dump talks about how he's sending more troops.
Oh, I was just ready to get
that
that in there.
Okay.
I just have that. That's exactly what I was talking about. I mean, this is so full of it, man. I could not believe that, X.
Yeah. What would the election have been if we had known that they were going to send more troops in? I mean, this is just like Vietnam starting up again. Advisors and support personnel suddenly will morph into something else. And is there going to be a vote on it? All these guys are now newly elected in their seats. There's no way of getting rid of them. Got 2 years to get rid of half of them, over half of them.
You know what? That's exactly where I was going. I just had those notes down there. Sending troops to fight ISIS, man. I mean, that to me that sent chills up my spine last night. That as I was taking some notes down and listening to what was going on. The other thing, too, guys, is that you know what. You know, I feel the Democrats got what they deserved in this election, especially on the federal side. I mean, they've held up bills just so that people would not have a vote on it to where they could run on their record. And I'm really glad that the Senate has switched now. These votes will come up for a vote. I mean, and these bills will come up for a vote. And I think it's important that we know where our legislators stand on this stuff.
Absolutely.
So. Michael X, a couple other things, too, here real quick I do want to touch on. I got a Newsmax and Reason Magazine said that Gary Johnson has announced that he's running for the 2016 LP nomination. I was surprised to see that that was being reported. I contacted Gary last night, and he said that is not correct. He has not officially thrown his name into the ring. He's certainly thinking about it. He would like to run, especially if Rand Paul doesn't espouse principles that he believes in, the libertarian principles. For myself, I think it would be fantastic, once again, and we've all said this, the more folks that are out there running, the more that we could have, get not only information out, but certainly, give people a different point of view. X, Mike.
Well, it's really all about us. Keep the push on, Lou. It's Aaron Kaufer. If Aaron's still in the studio, remember I do have his cell phone number. And
I have his cell phone number too, Michael. Michael, when you say put the push on, November 17th, Quad County Independent Gazette prints, and November 28th, it'll be the Wilkes-Barre Scranton. December 1st, it will be Carbon County. We're starting to get into a regular cycle here. We just printed Arlington. We hired the editor for the Pocono paper. This is part of the push. I encourage folks, if you want to get involved with what we're doing, either here on the radio or certainly with the Independent Gazette, please go to muckrakerstore.com. I mean, there's ways to contact us through there. Certainly take out a subscription. It all helps. We're growing, and as we grow, we're going to be able to give a voice to more and more folks in not only Northeast Pennsylvania, but we have some ambitious ideas for the 2015-2016 cycles here. Michael, we're down to the 45 seconds. I think that's about it, man.
Well, this is all exciting stuff, and we just have to, just keep the hope up. I think that's important. And, of course, as always, God bless.
God bless everybody. We'll be back next week. Sanity Check, 94.3 FM The Talker. Have a great weekend.